All right, so this is another one of them crazy ideas. This is a piece of flagstone, and this is what we used around the basement wall. It's actually veneer. It's a true flagstone, but it's it varies in thicknesses. I think this is probably a 1/4 inch, goes all the way up to an inch. And I got one of the thinner pieces. And what I'm going to do, attempt to do, is Mr. Capper came home with another deer mount with the shoulder, so I outlined the cape of it, and what I'm going to try and do is do a flagstone backing for it to mount on instead of just mounting it right on the wall. So what I need to do first is scrape off some of this loose stuff. Flagstone is pretty flaky. There's different layers of stone on it. Like, I can scrape off some of it right now, but it will look a lot different after I get it scrubbed. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to use this side or the flip side. I'm going to see which side cleans up better and which has more character to it. Alright, I have it scrubbed off, and when it's wet you can really see the different colors. This is called a blue slate color for flagstone. So it has some different colors mixed into it. It has golds, the grays, the blacks, and it has little flecks of sparkly stuff too. Well, this is how it ended up looking after I washed it, and now I left it dry. And I don't think I'm going to seal it, because if I seal it, I'm going to hide a lot of that character. Look at that. It's hard to tell, but there's actually little crystals in there. They're almost like little silver flecks that would disappear, you know, if I did cover them up. You can see some of them kind of popping out in there. So I think I'm probably just going to leave it and not seal it. It's going to be in the basement anyway, so it's going to be dry. But I'm going to go put the deer head on it just to see once what it's going to look like. So I brought it down here just to see once this is going to be the mount that it's on. I think it'll work. I wanted to make sure the shape was going to be okay. I wish this side over here was a little bit more rounded, but I do not want to mess with it because if I take any chips out of it, I'm afraid it's going to break. So that'll kind of give me an idea of what it's going to look like. So just a little change of plans. I was going to use just that board, like the pegboard stuff, but I decided probably need a little bit beefier. Even though the stone is pretty thin, it's just a veneer. Well, it's a thin piece that I was able to peel off a bigger piece. So I have a 1/2 inch piece of plywood that I cut kind of roughly in the shape. It doesn't matter. It's going to be in the back. Painted the edges black and the back black because it will pull out, you know, from the wall a little bit and create a shadow, which I think will be kind of cool because it'll be kind of 3D. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and use this PL 500 landscape construction adhesive. It's engineered for block, brick, stone, and timber. It's an outdoor adhesive. So I'm basically going to just glue it to that stone just like that, and then we'll work on putting in the screw or the bolt. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. That'll stick out for the front where the deer will actually hang on. Alright, so the adhesive dried for 24 hours. I flipped it over. It seems to be holding very well. So I'm going to work on the actual mounting. So I went downstairs where the deer head is, and I traced where the taxidermist put the hooks. And he used a really heavy hook that has 3 holes that you can slide it into. And the deer mount, the head is turned to one side, so the actual screws aren't in the center of the mount. So it's a good thing I went down there and looked. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this 1 inch number 8 wood screw, and it will stick out about 1/4 inch. And I made sure that it actually fit into those 3 hooks that are downstairs. And the first one didn't. It was too thick, so good thing Mr. Capper reminded me to go down there and check that first. So I'm going to drill a small hole through there into the wood and get that wood screw in there, and that will be where the deer mount is. And then I'll have to put a different hanger on the back of the plywood. Alright, well I used a concrete bit to just get through the rock part of it. That's why it's all dark there, because I put a little water on it. And then I just drilled into that plywood just about 1/4 of an inch more. So I'm going to screw in that, and it needs to stick out about 1/4 of an inch. Alright, so I screwed it in by hand. I didn't think anything was going to break, but just a little paranoid yet. But as you can see, it's sticking out that 1/4 of an inch that I need to hook the deer mount on. And then on the back of it, it was a 1-inch nail, and I knew it was going to be a little bit too long. So it is sticking, or 1-inch screw. So it is sticking out a little bit, and I'll just go ahead and grind that off. Alright, so I cut off that screw head that was sticking out the back there. Touch that up with a little bit of paint. Now it's time to put the hanger. I know there's different types of hangers. I don't have a really heavy-duty sawtooth hanger that I would put up in the top here. And where it's going to be hanging, it's really, nobody's going to be touching it. There's no wall movement, no doors slamming or anything. So I'm not worried about it moving once we hang it up there. But if you're going to be in an area that has a lot of high traffic or doors that are closing and opening next to it, you may want to do something else. But I'm just going to put 2 screws on the side of the plywood, and I have a heavy gauge steel wire that I'm going to use that. And that way it'll self-balance. The other thing you got to be careful if you put a sawtooth hanger is that you need to have it exactly where it's balanced. And with the deer head being turned a little bit, I think it should be okay. It should be balanced with the way we have the screw in the center and the other side of it, but you never know. So I'm going to do it this way. Lesson learned. I'm not used to working with plywood. In fact, I never work with it. I usually work with solid wood. So of course, when I tried to drill a hole and put the screw in the plywood, it started separating. So plan B, I'm going to have to do it from the top. It will make it stick out a little bit from the wall, but I'll try to minimize it. So there it is with the heavy gauge wire and a couple of screws in the plywood. And it's plenty of room to be able to hang pretty much anywhere along there to find the center. Well, I'll have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous about this one. We'll see what it looks like. Now that I have it on that side, I can also see that some of the glue, or that adhesive that I put on there, kind of came off the side, and the plywood where I painted, you can see it's kind of right there. The paint came apart, so that'll be easy touch up, because that'll be something if somebody's looking right at the edge of the stone. Alright, this is why I do practice runs. So I put it on the wall, hung it up, and I have to tighten that wire. It's a big gap. Alright, so that's way better. What I ended up doing was I moved the screws up higher, and I made the wire a little bit shorter. So now it's pretty much even all the way up and down. And that'll look cool because it's going to actually stand out a little bit from the wall. So it won't be just like it's, you know, stuck tight against the wall. Alright, so we got it in the basement. We got it up on the wall where we're going to hang it. And you can see there's that little bit of a space and shadow behind it. That'll make it stand out a little bit more. So all we got to do is add deer. Alright, there he is. I think it turned out pretty good. Thank you, Mr. Capper, for helping getting it up there.